The Investec Champions Cup is only a few days away, the biggest competition in club rugby. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down every single pool for you, who to watch out for in each pool, what their form's like, which players you should keep an eye on, and then I'm going to predict how each group is going to finish. As always, leave your opinions down in the comments. Hit that like button if you haven't. Please hit that subscribe button. Still about 80% of you that watch these videos on a regular basis are not subscribed. Let's get into it. Starting off with Pool A, and it's a pretty decent pool, right? We got Toulouse, we got Bordeaux, Sharks, Exeter Chiefs, Leicester Tigers, and Ulster. Now, the two top 14 sides that are in this pool are obviously Toulouse and Bordeaux. And to be honest, they're probably the favorites going into this pool because Toulouse are reigning champions of the Champions Cup, ended up beating Leinster last year in a fantastic final, if you can remember it. They ended up going to extra time and Toulouse ended up winning it. And they've got star players absolutely everywhere. But the man on everyone's lips, the man who can change a game is Antoine Dupont, and he's definitely the key player for this Toulouse side. He plays scrum off. He's known for his vision, his speed, his physicality. He is a game changer, and I think Toulouse are probably favorites to win the whole competition yet again, probably up there with Leinster, and it wouldn't surprise me to see that final again. But I do think the South African teams will have a little bit of a say in how this competition goes down this year. The other team that comes from France is Bordeaux. They were runners-up in the top 14 last year, and they will aim to make their mark on the European stage this year. Now for them, their danger man is probably Damien Penaud, who is their star winger, lightning pace, elusive footwork. But again, they're pretty packed with star players from that French side. So I think Toulouse and Bordeaux are definitely favorites in Pool 1. And then we move over into the Premiership. There's two teams, Exeter Chiefs and Leicester Tigers. Now for Leicester Tigers, it's going to be very interesting to see how Handré Pollard goes up against the Sharks side in what will be Sia Masuku or Jordan Hendrickson at number 10 position. But then also the whole back line from the Springbok setup, right? You got Grant Williams, you got Jaden Hendrickson, you got Dukanya Andre Esterhuizen, Makazole Mapimpi, Apelele Fassi. So Leicester Tigers might have an edge in the fact that Handré Pollard is their number 10 and knows the Sharks' way of playing because he's played so much rugby with all of those guys. So I think Leicester Tigers is sort of a dark horse in this group because of the fact that they have Handré Pollard in that number 10 position. They're also a resurgent team with rich history, and they have a new coach in Michael Cheika. So Michael Cheika, I mean, he doesn't really need any explanation. Handré Pollard in that number 10 position. They are the dark horse in the group. Then the Exeter Chiefs, known for their relentless forward play and tactical prowess. And their star man is obviously Emmanuel Fair-Waboso, who plays 11 or 14 for England. He was sort of a standout player in the Autumn Nations series and probably is one of the most dangerous men on the wings at the moment. So Exeter, it's going to be difficult for them to make it out of this group, and I don't know if they're going to be able to, especially with the likes of the Sharks and Ulster from the URC in that group as well. Now, Ulster 1999 Champions Cup winners, but that's a long time ago. Their strike man, Jacob Stockdale, who's a potent winger known for his try-scoring capabilities, will try and hold it together there. But we also know Ulster are very difficult to beat on home soil. We see it in the URC all the time. They struggle on the road, but they're very solid at home. And then the final team that rounds out the group from the URC is the Sharks. Now, again, I'll highlight how many Springboks are in that Shark side, from the forwards to the backs to the replacements. The Sharks, and I've spoken to a couple of them, they want to win the Champions Cup and the URC this year. That is their goal for the year, and they should be able to do it, right? With the team that they have, they should be able to do it, but their group is not easy at all with those top 14 sides, the Leicester Tigers and Exeter Chiefs, as well as Ulster. So there's no real wooden spoon in this group. There's no real team that everyone's going to look at and be like, we can get 4 or 5 points from them. So it's a very strong group. I think a couple of the key matchups is going to be the Sharks' strength in physicality and intensity and their set piece dominance. I mean, when you've got Vincent Koch, Bongi Bonambe, and Oxen Cho up front, they're going to be winning quite a lot of penalties at scrum time. Toulouse strength, they're quick, they're dynamic, led by Antoine Dupont, precision-driven game plan and cohesive attacking flair. So they're going to be a handful, and I'm not expecting anyone to sort of beat them in the group stages. I think if you do beat Toulouse in the group stages, then you're looking very, very strong going into the knockout stages. So how do I see this group panning out? So I'll start from the bottom. In sixth, I don't think Exeter Chiefs are going to have enough. Yes, they have Fayo Boso, but your squad needs to be a little bit more than one danger man. They also have quite a young squad, so I don't think they're going to be making it through to the knockout stages. In fifth, I've gone for Ulster. They've got strong attack, but inconsistent, and like I said, they may struggle on the road. So I don't think Ulster are going to make it. In that fourth position, I'm going to put the Leicester Tigers, and I think that's going to be carried by Andre Pollard. I think he maybe doesn't play his best rugby for Leicester Tigers, but I think when he's coming up against the likes of the Sharks and these really, really good sides, he's going to step it up, as we know he does. Then third, I'm going to put the Sharks. I think they'll qualify for the knockout stages. They'll have a difficult knockout stage run, but I think they can go quite deep, and I think they will definitely make the knockouts. And then that first and second spot will be occupied by the top 14 teams. In that number one spot, I'm going to go Toulouse, and in second, I'm going to go for Bordeaux. Let me know if you guys agree with my predictions or not. Leave them down in the comments, and let's get into Pool 2. Into Pool 2, and we've got Leinster Rugby, we've got Clermont, we've got La Rochelle, Bristol-Bears, Benetton Rugby, and Bath. Now, this again is a difficult group, but I think it's probably the easiest group out of the four for the likes of a Leinster or a La Rochelle. So from the URC, we've got Leinster and we've got Benetton. Now, I don't think I need to explain to you guys too much about Leinster. We've seen them as from a South African perspective in the URC and how good of a team they are. They've got a bunch of Irish internationals. Obviously, Jamison Gibson-Park is quite a key player for them in that scrum of position. But there's just so many more Irish players in that team than just Jamison Gibson-Park. They're clinical, they've got a good game plan, and they're very, very difficult to beat at home. So I think Leinster, like I said, are probably one of the favourites with the likes of Toulouse. Benetton are one of those Italian sides who these teams are probably looking at thinking you have to beat Benetton if you're going to make it to the knockout stages. But they do have that X factor that they can produce on home soil. So again, one of those teams who will perform well at home, but I think are going to struggle away from home. From France, the two top 14 teams, we have La Rochelle and Clermont. Now, La Rochelle are two-time Champions Cup winners, I think in 2022 and 2023. They're known for their physicality and their tactical excellence. They ended up knocking out the Stormers last year in the round of 16s. I'm not sure if you guys remember that game at Cape Town Stadium, where the Stormers ended up losing 21-22 to La Rochelle at that game. It was absolutely insane. And La Rochelle are one of those sides who can be very, very dangerous. Then Clermont, maybe, again, one of those sides these teams look at and think we should be getting points. We should be getting points over them and not really losing to them, whether we play home or away. I think Clermont are sort of in that basket with Benetton, are probably the two teams that are going to get eliminated before the knockout stages. And then we've got Bath Rugby, who've been on an absolute tear over the last couple of weeks. I think they've won 7 in a row. They've definitely won their last 5 out of 5. Bath Rugby are looking very, very good at the moment and could be maybe seen as underdogs in this competition. Now, Bristol-Beges, known for their exciting, unpredictable style of play. Ellis Genge up front is going to be absolutely crucial for them in that sort of set-piece play. He's going to have to be very, very powerful and lead from the front. Key matchups in this group is definitely Leinster taking on La Rochelle. That is a massive, massive game. Two Titans taking on each other. We don't have any South African teams in this pool. And I don't really think you want a South African team to be in that pool, because if you take out a Clermont or Benetton, then all of a sudden that pool is looking very, very dangerous. So how do I see this one lining up? Look, I think in 6th, I'm going to put Benetton Rugby. I don't really see them getting much from this pool. Maybe they'll pull off one victory at home, but they are improving. They can be dangerous, but I'm going to put them in 6th. 5th and 4th is a throw up for me. Do we go Clermont or Bristol-Beges? I think Bristol-Beges will probably end 5th just because of their fixtures, and they I think Clermont just have a little bit more to offer, right? They play in the top 14. They've played La Rochelle. They play La Rochelle often. They know how to play them. I think they will be able to get over Benetton, and they might push Bath a little bit. So I'm going to put Clermont in fourth. Then in third, I'm going to put Bath Rugby. They're a very, very strong third place contender, and they could even finish second, maybe even first if they can upset Leinster, but I just don't see them beating the likes of a Leinster or a La Rochelle. So for me, I'm going to put Leinster in that number 1 spot, La Rochelle in that number 2 spot. And I think that's how it's going to go. Leinster and La Rochelle, it's just so hard to see them finishing lower than first or second. Leinster will probably go unbeaten in the group stages, but I like that prediction. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Next up, we got Pool 3, and this is a very, very competitive pool. Northampton Saints, Munster, Blue Bulls, Stade Francais, Saracens, and the Castres. Now, again, this is so difficult to call because we've got two very, very good teams from the URC, Munster and Vodacom Blue Bulls. Munster won the Champions Cup twice. The Bulls got knocked out in the quarterfinals last year to Northampton Saints when Northampton Saints were on that incredible run in the Premiership. Bulls ended up playing them away from home. They didn't send their big guns to Northampton Saints, and they ended up losing quite convincingly. But Munster are going to be very, very difficult to beat. They're one of those big Irish clubs similar to Leinster that are just they're just so well drilled. They know what their game plan is, and they know how to exploit other teams. And then for the Bulls, I think we're going to see a little bit of a different approach to the Champions Cup this year. I think the Bulls are definitely going to go for it. Yes, the URC might be number 1 priority, but I definitely think the Champions Cup is sort of on the same level for South African teams at the moment, maybe even higher for some of the unions like the Sharks. I think the Vodacom Blue Bulls are going to try and balance their URC campaign and their Champions Cup campaign more so than maybe other sides, but I do expect the Bulls to send a very, very strong side to play these Champions Cup games. And there's just, again, a lot of X-Factor players in Kurt Leorensen, Cameron Honeycomb, Ulrich Loh in that Bulls side. And I do expect the Bulls to make it to those knockout stages. And I actually expect the Sharks and the Bulls to make it quite far, maybe even into the semi-finals and one of them into the finals. But two very good sides from the URC. The two from the Premiership are Saracens and Northampton Saints. Two very, very good sides. Again, Saracens, Mario Toji will be a force to be reckoned with in that side. They're also 3-time Champions Cup winners, and they have strong European experience. So definitely can't count out Saracens, Northampton Saints. I mean, last year's Premiership champions. They were absolutely unstoppable last season, and they are facing a little bit of a transitional year with a lot of the veterans departing. So their level of rugby hasn't been what it was last year, but they are still going to throw that ball around and try and cause a couple of upsets here and there. And then from the top 14, we've got Stade Francais and the Castres. Look, Stade Francais, 2-time Champions Cup winners, exciting squad, but they are a little bit inconsistent at the moment. And the Castres are 5-time top 14 champions, but they need to rediscover that. They definitely sort of the wooden spoon or the underdogs in this group. And I think sort of so is Stade Francais, because the other 4 sides, Saracens, Northampton Saints, Bulls, and Munster, are very well established at the moment. They've got some good depth. Maybe Northampton Saints not as much as the other 3, but this is going to be a very, very tight pool for those top 4 spots. For me, in 6th, I'm going to go for the Castres. They're gritty, but I just expect them to struggle away from home and maybe pick up one victory at home. 5th, Stade Francais. They've got flair and talent, but lacking a little bit of depth. And then into that top 4 spots who are going to qualify for the knockout stages. I think in 4th, Northampton Saints. Yes, they were great last season, but like I said, a lot of their veterans have left and they're just a little bit young at the moment, so I don't expect them to get over Munster, Saracens, or the Blue Bulls. 3rd, I'm going to put Munster, who are favourites in this group, I think, due to some returning stars, but I just think the Bulls and Saracens will pip them just. Maybe not away from home, but definitely at home. I mean, the Bulls, Loftus Versfeld is a fortress for them. So I'm expecting the Bulls to finish 1st, Saracens to finish 2nd, and Munster in 3rd. That is a very, very tight pool. Let me know what you guys think. And then finally, we've got Pool 4, and I would call this the group of death, because we've got Glasgow Warriors, Racing 92 or Racing 92, Sale Sharks, the Stormers, RC Toulon, and the Harlequins. Now, I think 5 out of the 6 of these sides could end at the top of the pool, and it just depends on their fixtures and sort of if they're playing home or away, but it's a very, very competitive pool. From the URC, we've got the Glasgow Warriors, who won the URC last season at Loftus against the Bulls. I was there. It was absolutely heartbreaking, but it just kind of shows where Glasgow Warriors are at and how good they are. They have a blend of experience and youthful dynamism. And the key man in that number 12 jersey is Tupoloto, right? Scotland captain, known for his aggressiveness. He gets them over the gain line. He's probably going to be captaining the British and Irish Lions next year. So we definitely can't count out the Glasgow Warriors. Then the Stormers from the URC as well. We know the Stormers rugby. A very, very good backline. Forwards are nice and powerful as well, but they've seemed to lose a little bit of their flair over the last couple of years and maybe aren't favourites in this group. But again, it's going to be good to see the likes of Damien Willemse getting back, Sasha Feinberg and Gumba Zulu. It's going to be an interesting watch to see how the Stormers do in the Champions Cup, but I don't know how far they're going to make it. Then from the Premiership, we've got the Harlequins and the Sale Sharks. Harlequins are sort of this team that can beat anyone on their day, but they do lack a little bit of consistency. Marcus Smith is going to be key in that number 10 jersey. We saw how good he was for England. Probably one of England's best players in the Autumn Nations series. I'm interested to see how Tyrone Green goes in that number 15 jersey. Harlequins could cause quite a few upsets, but on the other hand, they could fumble a couple of very, very makeable or easy games to win. And then we got Sale Sharks. I mean, we know how many South Africans are in that Sale Sharks side, the Dupree brothers, but their key players probably Tom Curry, who's renowned for his physicality, work rate, and breakdown dominance. Look, it's going to be difficult for Sale Sharks, I think. Again, one of those sides who can beat anyone on their day, not as much as Harlequins. And I think Sale Sharks are a little bit one-dimensional. They rely a lot on their physicality, and there's not too much out wide. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. And then from the top 14, we've got Toulon and Racing 92. Now, Toulon are 3-time Champions Cup winners with a rich European history. Their key players, definitely Ben White, quick distribution, sharp decision-making, essential to Toulon's game management. Then Racing 92 are an absolutely star-studded squad, including the England captain, Owen Farrell, known for his attacking brilliance. And I do think if Racing 92 are to have a good season, Owen Farrell is going to have to lead that charge. We're also going to see Achiva Daimane in a Racing 92 outfit. So it is going to be interesting to see how he goes up against the Stormers when they end up playing each other. I think the key battle here, key matchup is probably Glasgow Warriors and Harlequins, just because it's a very, very pivotal clash to see who is going to end up in that number 1 spot. If Glasgow win it, then Harlequins are going to struggle to end first. If Harlequins can upset Glasgow Warriors, like I said, they can, then it's going to be very, very interesting. So for me, how do I see this pool ending up? In that 6th position, I'm going to go for Sale Sharks. They're physical, but I just think they lack a little bit of flair. Number 5, I'm going to go Toulon. They have a strong history, but may lack a little bit of inconsistency in this. 4th, Racing 92. I think that's a little bit of a hot take just because Owen Farrell's there. They do have a star-studded lineup, but they've had that for a couple of years, and they just haven't been able to pull it together. So I'm going to put them in 4th. And then 1 to 3, in that number 1 position, I'm going to go Glasgow Warriors. In that number 2 position, I'm going to go Harlequins, and Stormers in that 3rd position. So that's how I see the Champions Cup pools lining up. It's going to be a very, very interesting battle. I'm looking forward to this competition so much more than I did last year, because maybe we got to see what it was like last year. But I'm looking forward to it so much. Let me know your guys' opinions down in the comments. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.